Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 26th episode of The Bright Young Thing, playing as David Ellison. Well, specifically, we're playing the Bright Young Thing Legacy from Cultist Simulator, but I would suspect after 26 episodes, you probably don't need me to tell you that. We are continuing on in the Shires. We're currently in Locksmith Fen. I believe it's Lockwood Fen. We are currently deceiving the Watchers. After that, we will get whatever treasures are waiting. Of course, in 25 seconds, slightly less than that, we may find out that we failed and somebody's going to get hurt. Moving on, we're translating the Leonine Tantra. We're also going to work on the Ceaseless, Incandescent, and Fire Circle Tantra. Again, we're expecting 2 minutes for each one, so that's about 8 minutes of work, and we've probably only got a couple more minutes left in Lockwood Fen. I don't recall if this one... There are a couple that don't give you texts, but either way, we're not really going to be upgrading any lore for the next little while. I think we're going to be working on our library. I decided to let the winter... influence decay into dread, just so that I can kind of get rid of the fascination and the dread at the same time. So that's clearing out. After that, we'll head to the Stag Door. Depending on what happens with the evidence. Well, actually, I guess I don't really have the money for it, but I was thinking that maybe we could start betraying a few followers. The alternative would be I could send Rhaenyra and Saliba out to acquire some more bodies. And we've got a season of sickness coming up, so I think I needed to preserve the vitality. We'll see whether or not I can pull that off. But overall, we're in a good position, so I think we're probably going to try and crash through a few more expeditions before we run out of money. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So regrettably, we did get some extra money, which I'm happy about. We did not get rid of the staleness. I think in this case, though, I do want to... I'm not going to be able to change this, am I? I think she goes here. Oh, and I got fascination for my trouble, so all that effort I put into trying to get rid of it. Although we do have old and happy far off things. So I think, as much as I regret doing so, I think I am going to do a reputation-based painting here so I can preserve the vitality. I don't feel good about doing it, but it's an option available to me right now. Oh, I don't need any more. This should have an impact. Does also mean that I'm going to need to leave the dream slot open, but we can probably make that work. And I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they've found no new clues. So I am preserving the life of the notoriety, but we're in a decent spot as far as our reputation's concerned. The air is curdled now. I'm home again in this lump in flesh. Better, perhaps. Okay, so this is going to take a minute. I think I need to wait for the sickness first. And we don't have a season of visions coming up, although we do have another season of suspicion, so maybe I want to try and do something with the weary detective to distract them. And let's pay up for the colors of the night. I think we're going to wind up with another staleness out of this, and everything's going to be sad, but... restless longing has me. I feel that I want to do something. What exactly? So I'm just going to paint this one away. And he navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you were the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. Valsina is not a machine. We are reasonably confident of that, because she has been observed now and then to commit quite human errors. Okay, we're going to change the order a little bit, just for something that's a bit easier for me to keep track of. So, there you are, Pope Clifton. So we'll put the Lantern people first. Nope. I guess Slee gets the priority position. He was my first follower. Okay, and then we need Cat Caro. So then we will take... let's bring our knock people in. So... Enid and Neville beside. We'll take our heart, so we've got Dorothy here. We can bring Clovette in, and Leo. After that, let's bring our Grail people, so Saliba and Rhaenyra. After that, let's bring in the Moth contingent. So we've got Yzabet. Now, I believe Porter's already on the expedition, but we can add Sylvia. Let's go Forge. So we've got Tristan, Valsine, and Laidlaw's on the expedition. We can bring in Victor, Rose, and Eldridge, our knife contingent, edge contingent. And then Violet and Eau Claire to bring in Winter. And then, of course, we can add the... I can never remember which one's Grail. I think this is the Grail one. I used to have kind of the convention where I would, you know, I would distinguish between people who are in the cult and aren't in the cult. You know, by putting them elsewhere, but in this case, wait a minute. Yeah, right here. Yeah, in this case, I don't know. I think it's clear enough from the context. Maybe I'll start making space for the goodies that I get as well. This might be the first time I actually have might be the first time I actually have space for all of my things. Okay. As fun as that was, I know watching people organize a board is not quite the most fun that you can have. So I think I did say I was going to bring all the pawns in, so let's keep going with the Mirror of Glory. Take a hanger on, Finian Invocation. This one is ready. In fact, one thing I could do is just add the Fascination and then we get rid of it that way. Did succeed. 3 staleness. We made our money, but at what cost? All right. Ooh. Okay, yeah, no, we're still safe. The most notorious translation of the Leonine Tantra, in the most notorious translation of the Leonine Tantra, Ashley Phillips is listed as the translator, but their existence is explicitly denied in the prologue. This confusion is characteristic of books which mention the Great Hooded Princes. So the Tantra describes elliptically the Great Hooded Princes and the multitudinous ways in which they influenced wars against foreign invaders of the land of the Great River, although in a sense they were also invaders. And we are going to try and get rid of... Nope, we're not. We're going to wait 7 seconds and then we're going to try and get rid of some of that staleness. But this is going to be one of these cases where I do a rotation of commissions and paintings. This illness has damaged my health. I will need to rest before I'm fully recovered. All I need now is time. This should have an impact. A dozen lights blaze, there is no place for shadow in these rites, and no place for mercy. So again, there are ways to bring these people up even higher, but in this case I'm just going to bring people in as useful tools. This one is ready. One of the nice things about the current situation, as far as doing the different commissions and all that is concerned, that is going to generate some more mystique for me, so we may be able to outrun the Suppression Bureau. I doubt it, though. Won't pay up for the paints. I mean, it might be an idea, but I think in this case we're just going to let the chips fall where they may. And let's chat with Dr. Adim to see what he can do for us. All that I am is here. The ring-used shrine. Apple green paint marks ritual circles on the rock. The remains of sacrifices past... Oh, sorry, let's read that line before. Here on a flat rock, inches above the marsh water, is a throne carved of yew wood, ripe with fungus, ornamented with tarnished copper. This is the shrine we seek. So we've got the flayed tantra, more vital pigments. The icon of St. Agnes. St. Agnes of Bohemia was renowned for her pious dedication to the mortification of the flesh. This icon makes for grisly viewing. A winged doll. In an attic above the skeleton house, there was a window. Beside the window, there was a box. In the box, there was a bandage. In the bandage was a twist of clotted hair. In the hair was wound a doll, because the window had never been opened. Whoops. So I think in this case here, I'm still going to go for another expedition. That does mean that I'm going to be cutting out the Caligine from the group, but I do have enough money to go on another one, so we're going to follow through on our usual habit. Keeglan's Scratch. Here the Romans dug for silver until they reached the unsanctioned space where the names hid things not fit for sunlight. Many others have come since then, even as the tunnels crumble. Some have never left. We prepare for the descent. We bring rope, tools, light. We arm ourselves against anything down there that may yet move. Excuse me. Let's also think about the talk verb. Again, we may want to be destroying some evidence, but at this point, I think probably just another... Oops, sorry, Laidlaw. We moved things in your absence. And Porter, same with you. We'll add you to the roster. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna still bring in the members. We actually don't need to use the top level lantern, but it does give us a little erudition, so it doesn't hurt either. Lions can be created, not as children are created, nor as words are created, but as weapons are created. The great hooded princes learnt to create lions from their spyings on the affairs of the hours. Not all lions now serve the Golden General. So we've got the Colonel's names, which is above what we already have. The Colonel has been many things in many ages. He is blind, he is deaf, he cannot be wounded, he cannot be denied. His names are cunning as only the very old can be. So, we'll work on the Ceaseless Tantra next. The avant-garde choreographer, Nicholas Carey, supposedly incorporated this tantra into his menacing ballets. Might make sense to also do the flayed tantra, because that will be another heart lord, but I don't know, we'll do it in the order that we got it. Lock the study door, the work begins. My recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. So that'll turn into money. And fascination for my trouble, but we can add that to the fleeting reminiscence. Okay, so in this case, again, I want to make sure that I'm properly dealing with that staleness, because it's just miserable to try and get through that otherwise. So we are going to be doing some commissions, and then if we're really in danger, we can sell some of the iron spintra. Okay, 2 seasons of dread we can manage, and we will get rid of the fascination here. So overall, again, I'm pretty happy with where the playthrough is. We're making, I feel like I've been making more progress than I normally do in a setup, and part of that's just a conscious choice. I've been, I haven't been trying to preserve all of the lore. Where I can, I've been trying to just advance things. There's actually some other things that I'm going to do to try and bring my followers to an even higher level. But we'll talk about that as time goes by. Dozen lights blaze. There is no place for shadow in these rites, and no place for mercy. So we're not yet at a point where we can turn in commissions, so I'm going to do another recruitment. This one is ready. keep in mind, the alternative that I have is to, send people out on different tasks, like bringing in people I can sacrifice to the spider's door. So there is a cost to the fact that I'm doing all of these bits of recruitment. But I kind of, at this point here, I just sort of say, get it dealt with, have the options available, and then, we can start doing some of our more questionable behaviors. Call upon the Madrigard who quells and quiets. Now, I should have taken care of this before, so we'll add Tristan, and then we'll also add a... Whoa, hang on. I don't think I have a winter follower for this one, so this is going to be particularly tricky. I could bring Edge, but no, I'll try and bring the winter crew in. A dozen lights blaze. There's no place for shadow in these rites, and no place for mercy. And I've prepared the text for study. Same text as before. The Ceaseless Tantra is devoted mostly to warnings about the lively creatures called percussagants, but concludes with a chant which can be used to summon them. It observes that percussagants can be taught to any dance, but they prefer only one. And I finished the manuscript. We'll turn that in with Poppy right away. Our first commission for them. And how are we on? Yes, we have enough passion to clear out more staleness, so we'll take care of that right away. Okay, what do I want to use as inspiration? I could use the erudition, I suppose. Maybe we will add Dorothy in this case. Coming up, we've got a Season of Ardors, so this will be something... In this case, we just get a contentment. I'm not that worried about the dread, but that would neutralize whatever dread we had to deal with earlier. And now we go back to the Stag Door. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The headgear bee weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. And I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So I do kind of like the low-level commissions just because it's easier to part with iron spintra than it is bronze or silver. Bronze and silver will be used to repair the mirrors, which become important once I advance past the spider's door. But for now, let's keep bringing people in. So Mirror of Glory with our edge hanger on. If I want, I could actually just use Reason. This time we'll just use the Mantis Clips. This one is ready. And I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. So we're getting very lucky with the Suppression Bureau, and I'm not going to complain about that. This gentleman would much rather be left alone with his pipe and his illustrated London news. But no, apparently some conjurer of abominations has to be hunted down like a mad dog, and apparently no one can find the time. So again, we're not spending on paints. We have gotten kind of lucky with the passion paintings here, but I don't want to tempt fate. The purpose of staleness is to lower the value of paintings, so it doesn't help to fall into that trap. Okay, final hanger on. There are some higher levels we can bring these people up to, so I am going to do that. But the good news about all of this is that we now have people who we can put into... We have people that we can put into any expedition. Sorry. What I mean by this is that we can use the pawns to search the city if we were so inclined. And my recent work has gone unnoticed. Nothing is sold. Perhaps the work is its own reward. I hope so. So bad luck for us. Again, money's not... We're not in a great spot money-wise. Of course, we can... I mean, I suppose it's like any business or, or life, If you're in a situation like this, you start cutting out the expenses and then, find a way of generating more. But I'd still prefer to do as many expeditions as I can. So what we're going to do here, one more staleness left, so I really only need to do one more commission. Very substantial secret histories here. I really don't have a preference. Actually, no, sorry, there's a weak preference for the heart commission because that might potentially get me a vitality. Otherwise, whatever order really works. That which does not cease is not ceased. I wonder why the waking chant went down here. I meant to open that, but oh well, that's fine. The incandescent tantra. Michael Blockley, the eccentric iron magnate, was fond of quoting from this tantra. Blockley died in a factory fire. I know this isn't the intention behind this, but there are cases where there are explicit references, and okay, let's deal with the stag door first. The painted river runs from a great chamber near the white door, far through the mansus, to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. And all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. So I'd put it to you this way. I'd kind of say maybe there are 3 different references in Cultist Simulator. Well, there's probably a 4th category, but I can make as many categories as I want or need for the purposes of this discussion. So that particular line about Blockley, I cannot help but recall Diogenes Laertius' The Lives of Eminent Philosophers. For those of you who are not familiar with it. So it's worth noting, like, I know a little bit about classics. The one thing that will be true of the Cultist Simulator fandom is that essentially anything that you think you are an expert on, there's always going to be somebody else who is more of an expert than you. That's also true of the internet, but I just happen to think, a game like this tends to attract a very wide number of, just a very diverse set of individuals. I'd actually note that for some reason I seem to keep running into people who are social scientists and are into Cultist Simulators, so I don't quite know what explains that, but in any case, there are definitely references that classicists would notice and appreciate. And I can't remember if I've brought them up during the broadcast or if I've just kind of talked about them, but you can go on the Perseus library and you can find a number of just either a number of works or even the dictionary or encyclopedia of classical sites. There are those references to the Merivai and specifically the dried out lake bed. And I believe Mac Hosty, who has a special thanks in it, is a member of the Oxford Classics department. So, and then, I mean, there's also just, it's full of history, so I don't want to just single out classics. There's a ton of history inside of this game. Even, I think the one thing that's really neat is you can point to, like, if you are well read in history, you can tend to point to the different little Easter eggs for things that you have a very in-depth knowledge of. But it's also fair to say that if some of you who've been with this game for a longer period of time, while Exile was being designed, Alexis Kennedy, the chief creative, I don't want to say chief creative officer, that makes it sound like Weather Factory's, Electronic Arts, but sort of the principal writer of this game and designer, did put out a call to people to sort of give interesting details about the cities that they live in, and did specify, like, not the sort of stuff that you would find on Wikipedia. And I think that's nice. It's always a shame when you have to sort of give that kind of recommendation, but my own experience has definitely been when you ask for help with something, people will tend to do the Google search or they will tend to do the Wikipedia search. And those are the sorts of things that you can normally do on your own. Again, I don't want to fault people for wanting to help, but the challenge is that, usually when you're reaching out to other people, it's because you want knowledge that is not immediately accessible to you. But in any case, the reason why I'm focusing so much on the classics, it's what I'm familiar with. And in this particular case here, for those of you not familiar with Diogenes Laertius, it's a big source of a lot of the fragments that we have of, I'd sort of say mostly pre-Socratics, but I think there might be a couple of other, I think you'd consider at least a few of the ones that are included in their Hellenistic philosophers and stuff. Again, I'll leave it to the experts for the different definitions. But there's a tremendous sense of humor in that work, which is not the sort of thing that you'd normally associate with a text like that, right? This would be such a terribly unfair way of describing the book, but I'm going to anyway. It's almost like if you had your lecture notes for philosophy class, and I'm actually really conscious of this because I do write with a fountain pen, and the ink that I have is sold, and it is well known for being just this incredibly permanent, like the company has a bounty out basically for the ability, or like to demonstrate the ability to remove it. So one of their selling features is sort of the security of it. It's not the reason I get it because you get them in like huge bottles and they don't cost that much. But I was just sort of thinking, like, imagine, so, I'm writing all my philosophy notes in this, and I'm just thinking, it's like, so if the bomb drops and there's whatever fragments are left, for all I know, my idiot notes could be the, whatever survives of the great works. And that's a really terrible way of describing Diogenes Laertius, but there it is. Essentially, it's this compendium of philosophers and their thoughts from someone who probably wasn't a student, but was obviously very interested in the subject. And but like I said, there's a real sense of humor in it, which I feel doesn't always get the level of attention that it deserves. And one thing that seems to come up a lot in that work are these ironic deaths. So, like, you'll have someone who is, I don't know, like a Stoic philosopher, and they're, they really are sticking it to the Epicureans and their hedonism. And, there's more to life than these these sensations, and then they wind up dying a terribly painful death. I think someone winds up buried under manure in the different deaths, and there are varying degrees of authenticity behind this. So I think I'm pretty sure the story of Empedocles jumping into Mount Etna and one of his brass sandals sort of being belched out and discovered. Again, I have no idea if that's true. I have no idea if there's another source for that, but actually, come to think of it, that might also be in Aristotle. But again, I leave the classicists to get the accurate depiction. So in any case, it is definitely fair to say that there are classics in Cultist Simulator. It's very clear that there are classical works that are mentioned and are clearly inspirations. If you want to hear the story of Apollo and Marsyas, that's in Ovid, Metamorphoses. But I don't think the fate of Michael Blockley is a deliberate tip of the hat to Diogenes Laertius. It just happens to be that this is something that I've read, and every time I see something like that, it's really hard. Every time I read this, I'm sort of like, it's not this, but I can't help but remember it. There are other ones which can be a little bit like that, and I just wonder in the back of my head, was this the inspiration or not? And in fact, there was an AMA, and I probably should have asked some more of the specific questions that I have, like, was this inspired by X, Y, or Z book? I don't know if that counts as a lore question though, and I asked some other ones in the AMA. But yeah, those are the ones where it seems to ring authentic enough, and it seems to map closely enough to these works that I'm like, it probably was an inspiration, but I can't tell for sure. The third category would be the ones where it's like, it has to be, or it's obviously a reference to these things, which is always delightful because, you just feel so clever for having read as widely as the author of this game. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is impossible. I have no idea how the man finds the time or has the bandwidth to read so broadly and in what feels like a very condensed period of time. In addition to doing all the other stuff, but I'm, again, assuming at this point that Weather Factory has superpowers. The fourth category I would have mentioned is probably the largest category for me, which is the references in the game that go sailing over my head, and I have no idea are references, but we won't talk too much about those because we only have a few seconds left together. Let's get some progress before I leave on a monologue. So, dream slot, we don't have that much to worry about. I'll use the restlessness from the season of ambitions as part of my, as a painting. So we're going to go back to the stag door. We'll use our reason for that. Stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. And we have now got the last of our pawns in. So again, I can turn in commissions and all of that, but the talk verb, I'm just going to keep getting the recruitment done. So there's going to be 2 more with the pawn. So I think this time I have to use the unmerciful mantra. Nope, even more. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. And what else can we get up to? Well, we'll get rid of the dead. We call upon the ivory dove who cannot be deceived. The dead watch us Whoa! The dead watch us closely, expressionless as saint statues, but we are invested with the power of winter. Probably the dead will recognize that. Let's bring Eau Claire in. We call upon the ivory dove who knows the names of all the dead. The dead circle the edge of our vision like frayed dreams. The very air around us is chill with winter's shadow. They must recognize that. I always wondered if there was a way to incorporate influences inside the expeditions. Because it's also kind of ambiguous as to whether or not you are on the expedition or not. It says we a lot, but of course you're also going to work and study and all of those other things. So if you are present, it makes sense to be able to use the influences, and if you're not present, then it makes less sense. The dead draw back, their almost faces flat and watchful. They will not trouble us. Okay, a little too early for the paint, or to use the restlessness in the painting. I want to clear out the staleness as quickly as I can, so we're going to start the new painting right away. You never know, this might be a living. So only 1 more staleness, and let's take Clovettes. Something to remember them by, perhaps. Alright. Because I like to read the text at the start, or ideally I can read the starting and finishing text in the same session, I will save the incandescent tantra for the next episode. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to be back tomorrow with another episode, but until then, take care. See you in the next one.